Hello, it's Chris again. So I know that many of you are doing maybe extra releves to keep your lower legs in shape for jumping and point work. So you probably have a lot of exercises for that. But I thought that I would give you a video talking through some of the calf rolling exercises I've done with most of you in classes before. So all you need is a ball about the size of a tennis ball. I have a rubber ball, and we'll just go through the ones. Like I said, most of you are familiar with these, but I'll talk through them in case anybody sees this that hasn't done it before with me. All right, so we'll start seated on the floor. I'll angle a little bit this way so that you can maybe see the ball underneath, although it might be a little hard. I'm going to start with putting the ball underneath my calf. I'll lift the leg in the middle, somewhere there. And then I'm going to bend the other leg to plant it. I'm going to place my hands on the floor. And then I'm just going to go back and forth along the line of the muscles. And then if I wanted to add a little bit of cross fiber, myofascial release, I'm just going to zigzag the leg side to side. So the leg is moving side to side a little bit as I go up and down, cross fibering along the line of the muscles. So zigzagging. I'm going to do this a little bit. My calves have been a little extra sore since I've been demonstrating, a little bit more than I usually do. So I need this just as much as you do. All right, keep it pretty much where it is. You're going to outwardly rotate the whole leg, and if you need to, just do so. And you're going to go along the outer gastrocnemius, the lateral gastrocnemius. And you might be hitting a little bit of some of the other muscles there. You might be hitting some of the fibularis muscles, or sometimes they're called the peroneals, or it's pronounced peroneals also. All basically the same thing, fibularis, peroneals, peroneals. Those are the muscles that help wing our foot. All right, now we're going to go to the inner gastrocnemius. So you're going to inwardly rotate. I tend to rock onto the outside of my right hip a little bit for this. I'm going to move that block out of the way, and then just going up and down the inner calf. And just notice whether your outer calf or your inner calf is a little bit tighter. Could have a lot of different reasons for that. It could be differences, just habitual standing and walking habits. I'm doing a tiny bit of a zigzag here, but mainly I'm just going up and down the inner calf. It's called the medial gastrocnemius. The one on the outside was the lateral gastrocnemius. And then coming back to center. All right, the next thing we're going to do is you're just going to have it, so I'm going to have it just above where the bottom part of my calf, above the Achilles tendon, but where it feels like the beginning of the lower calf muscles there. And I'm just going to dorsiflex and plantar flex my ankle, so point and flex for the dancers. So I'm just putting the calf muscles on a stretch as I'm pinning it here. While you're doing this, if you want to add a little bit more intensity, you can cross the other leg on top. It might be hard. Oh, roll it around. I'm having trouble keeping it stable. Right, you might be able to find a way to do that. Point and flex a few more times. And then you're going to inch yourself a little bit forward so you're more in the very middle of your calf. I'll demonstrate where I have the ball. I'm going to just place that down there. I'm just leaning back my hands. I'm flexing and pointing my feet. And you can do this more times than what I'm giving you here. And then we're going to do one more position on the calf a little bit higher up, closer to the knee. So I'm going to inch forward a little bit further. I'll just demonstrate again. So I have it behind my calf, not on the back of the knee. You don't want to directly put pressure on there. So below the knee, but towards the top of your calf. And again, I'm just going to flex and point, and flex, point, and flex, and point. And then I'm just going to do a few last up and down, maybe a little zigzag, maybe a little outward rotation, maybe a little inward rotation. Oh, there's some chunky stuff in there, chunky nuts. Okay, all right. So next we're going to go to more of the, what are the fibularis muscles, targeting them a little bit more specifically. So we're not quite getting to the anterior muscles right now. So I'm going to come into Z-sit, and I'll just show you where we're going to place the ball. So we can kind of find a bony landmark below the outside of the knee. You might find a little knobby thing. I'm going to place the ball like about an inch or so below that. So it's on the outside, the lateral side of the knee, just a little inferior to the knee joint. So I'm going to place the ball there. I'm going to come into my Z-sit. And then what you can do is you can use your other hand to just press it a little bit. You can go roll up and down. You can try and open and close the leg a little bit. That would be more cross-fibering. You can try a little bit of all of the above, opening, closing, going up and down. And I find that I need to have a little bit of pressure. Sometimes it helps if I just use the hand to move the leg up and down. Make sure you're breathing. Full deep breaths help bring oxygen, because all we're doing right now is increasing the blood flow, which is also bringing more oxygen, more nutrients to the cells. So make sure you're breathing fully and deeply. If it's too intense, decrease the pressure. All right, I'm going to move to another spot a little bit lower down. So I'm going to go think of middle of the outside of the calf. A little bit lower down. I'm going to use my hand again. I'm finding that this is the best method for my body. If you just want to try doing it on your own without pressing, you can do that. But my hand has helped guiding the leg in the motion. Here in this middle spot, I'm going to add something. We're going to invert or sickle or supinate the foot. So I'm going to sickle and release. I'm going to try and sickle and release, sickle and release, sickle and release. 2 more times, sickle and release, sickle and release. Maybe rub that once again. And then we're going to go one more time a little bit lower. Now it starts to get really bony here, so it can be a little tricky to stay on the ball, but I would think of going slightly behind the bony fibularis muscle here, lower, just a little bit above the ankle. So I'm going to go, whoa, it's very rocky rolling here. So I'm probably going to go a little bit slower, try and get in there. And then I'm going to do that sickle again. So I'm going to sickle and release, sickle and release. Keep doing that. So what I'm doing is while I'm kind of pinning the ball into the muscles, I'm putting the muscles on the stretch. Just creating a little bit more tension in there. Maybe tension's not the best word. And release. All right, release that. Let's come to standing. I'm going to demonstrate a shin. of release, but you would need a block. So if you don't have a block, skip this part, but I'll talk through that briefly. So we're gonna go for the anterior muscles of the shin. So we have our bony shin bone. You can feel that pretty clearly. It hurts if you bump it on something. We're gonna go just to the outside lateral edge of that to get some of our anterior lower leg muscles. Anterior tibialis would be one of the main ones, the extensor digitorum longus, the hallucis the hallucor extensus longus. So I'm going to place the ball. You have a big bony knobby part of the front of your knee. I'm going to place it just to the outside of that, below the knee joint, below the kneecap. I'm going to put it on there. It's a little hard to keep it stable, but I'm just going to go up and down the outside of the shin. I'm going to turn a little bit sideways so you can see this a little bit better. Maybe on the diagonal. Hopefully you can see the ball a little bit. So I'm going up and down, and then if I want to do a little bit of cross-fibering, I think of wagging the foot side to side. And that really gets into part of the anterior shin muscles. Wagging. I learned this through some yoga tune-up classes and myofascial release classes. I'm going to scoot a little bit, whoa, that way, so it can go lower down on my shin. Again, I'm outside of the shin bone. I'm not right on top of the shin bone. That's why this is a little bit tricky, because it's almost tiny space there. Again, I'm going to go forward and back in just a couple inches. And then maybe I'll do a little waggle of my leg, lower leg side to side. And then I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to flex and point my ankle. So I'm going to go to dorsiflexion of the ankle, plantar flexion. Go just back and forth. And release that. Okay, come to stand now. You could also do another lower point if you want to do further with that, if you're having issues with the front of your shins being really tight. So come up to stand. We'll do a little bit of rolling for our right foot, and then we'll do a little somatic check-in with one side, the side that we rolled versus the side we didn't. So the same leg you've been rolling, place the ball underneath your foot. I'm going to turn a little bit diagonally this way for now. And you're first just going to go roll up and down the arch of your foot. This feels so good. Make sure that you roll more towards the medial edge, so your inner arch. And I'm kind of inverting the foot a little bit there. Actually, I was everting it. Everting foot. And then roll it towards your pinky toe edge. I'll come this way. And so you're rolling the pinky toe edge of the foot back to center. All right. Now you're going to keep the ball underneath the arch of your foot. Place your heel on the floor, and I'll just reiterate or explain more clearly. The ball's not going to be right on the ball, middle of the ball of your foot, so not here. It's going to be a little bit below that. So there, but not the true middle of the arch. So just behind the center of the ball of foot. My heel is on the floor. I'm going to curl my toes around so they are curling around like they want to grab it. And then I'm going to rock towards the pinky toe side of my foot, and then rock towards the inner edge of the foot, rock towards the pinky toe side of your foot, rock towards the inner edge, rock towards the pinky toe side, rock towards the big toe side, pinky toe side, big toe side. Again, roll a little bit. And the next thing we're going to do, I call the Olivia Newton-John. You put the ball of the foot on the floor, so it's a little bit different. The ball is right in front of the center of your heel. So not at the back of the heel, but more slightly in front of that heel bone, just a little bit. So ball of foot's on the floor, you're just going to press into it like you want to step on it and then wag your heel. I call this Olivia Newton-John move because in the movie Grease in the 70s, when I was growing up, Olivia Newton-John decides she's going to dress like the cool people and start smoking, which isn't so cool. But she puts out her cigarette like this. It's an iconic move, dance move in the film. Anyway, so that's why I call it the Olivia Newton-John Grease move. Then we're going to stretch your toes. So you're going to roll the ball. You're going to place, let's see, what's the easiest vantage point to see? I'll do it this way. So the whole ball of my foot is on the floor. And then my pinky toe and fourth toe are up on the ball. Now, if you have a larger ball or a tennis ball, it might start to run away. So it might slip out. The rubber balls tend to be a little bit better with the traction for this. So if it starts to roll away, you just bring it back, you put it back under, and maybe you have to hold it there while you're doing this. So I'm just going to stay here with this. I'm thinking about grounding the big toe, the second toe, and trying to get the third toe onto the floor with the other toes, the pinky toe, the fourth toe up on the ball. And now we're going to shift so that the middle three toes are up on the ball. The whole ball of the foot's on the floor. I have my big toe on the floor and my pinky toe on the floor. And you can vary the intensity. So you might notice I'm a little bit further back away from it. That decreases the intensity. The more you start to shift forward or even step this leg forward, the more the intensity of the stretch will increase. So I would suggest, if you haven't been doing this much lately, or if you've never done it, to back off and be a little bit mild till you figure out how your feet respond to the intensity of it. It's always time to go back and do it again at another intensity, another day. All right, so we're going to shift and put I'm going to change my angle. So now my big toe and my second toe are up on the ball. My pinky toe and fourth toe are clearly grounded. My third toe is trying to ground towards the floor, but it's not quite making it. And then again, you can modify the intensity of this by either backing off or shifting your whole body weight forward. I'm going to stay somewhere in the middle, my Goldilocks for today, Goldilocks version. And then come off that, do a little bit more of a roll, back and forth. All right, let's do a little somatic check-in so we can see if anything's changed between our sides. So come to an easy parallel. Let's have the feet right underneath the sits bones. If it's comfortable for you to close your eyes and you can hear me clearly, I'm not going to be doing any movement, so you don't really need to see anything right now. But just, if you don't want to close your eyes, just drop your gaze and let your focus shift to an internal sensing feeling modality. And just notice the leg and foot that you roll. Just notice how it feels on the floor. I'm going to give a little bit of time and space for you to just kind of be here for a moment. Just feeling your foot, your lower leg. Noticing how one side feels and compared to the other side. All right, flutter your eyes open. If they're closed, we have to do the whole other side. All right, so coming back down to lying, I'll angle this way this time. So again, I'm placing the ball. I'll do a little bit less breakdown on this side. Placing the ball underneath the middle of my calf. I'm bending the other leg, planting it on the floor to help support me, and I can help lift my pelvis off the floor with my foot and my hands so that I can go forward and back. I'm just barely lifting off the floor. It's not a big effort. I'm going back and forth, up and down the line of the muscle fibers. And then I'm going to add a little zigzag back and forth to do a little bit of cross fibering. And if you feel some pretty substantial knots in there, just know, don't necessarily go your hardest and deepest right away. I would suggest maybe doing this rolling, if you're having a lot of tightness issues, doing it every day. I like to do it either before class or at the very end of the day before I go to bed. You can also do it after class. All right, we're going to go to the lateral gastrocnemius. So I'm going to outwardly rotate the leg and go up and down the outer calf. And I'm going to add that little zigzag. And now let's go to the inward rotation. So I'm going to inwardly rotate the whole leg. I'm shifting a little bit on this side to the outside of the other hip so I can get a clearer inward rotation without having to over-activate some of my hip muscles. All right, and I'm just going to go back and forth on the medial gastrocnemius. I'm going to zigzag a little bit. I'm feeling a lot of extra tension down near my ankle, the lower part of my calf muscles. So when I get to those areas, I'm just going to slow down a little bit and make sure I can go as smoothly as possible because it wants to go bumpity bump a little bit. Go back to the center. All right, now we're going to have the ball just under the lower part of the calf, just before the Achilles tendon becomes part of the medial part of the calf muscle, and then you're going to point and flex your foot. So point your foot and flex, point and foot, flex. For anatomy terms, we have plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. I'm also adding flexion of the toes and big toe, extension of the toes and big toe. And then I'm going to roll to the middle of the calf, so in like what feels like maybe the meatiest part of your calf, maybe the widest part if you're looking at it from this angle. And then again, point, flexing and pointing. And one more position for this. So roll up a little bit higher on the back of your calf, but not on the back of the knee. Just reiterating that we don't want to press the ball into the back of the knee. All right. Flexing and pointing, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion. And then I'm just going to roll up and down a little bit more. Maybe a little bit to the outer calf, maybe a little bit to the inner calf. All right, feels a little better. All right, now we're going to go to a little bit more of the fibularis, or as I said, perineals or peroneals. I learned it as the perineals. But recent years they've changed it to reflect the bone that's near the fibularis. Again, so I'm feeling the outside of my knee, and there's a knobby here, the head of the fibularis there. So I'm going to go a little bit below that and place the ball there. I'm going to come onto the outside in a little bit of a Z-sit. I have to adjust my hips a little bit. I'm leaning on this hand for support. And then this hand's just going to be on top and add a little bit of pressure. And I'm going to move the leg up and down on the ball. You can also open and close just a little bit, not a lot. Otherwise you'll lose where the spot on the ball. So I'm going to do both at the same time. All right, we're going to move to the middle of the outside of the calf. So I'm going to shift a little bit. I'm really kind of in the middle, so I'm not up near the knee, I'm not near closer to the ankle. I'm trying to be pretty much in the middle of my calf on the fibularis muscles. So this one I'm really going to use my hand to guide a little bit more. And then if you remember, we did a sickling action here. So I'm going to press, I'm going to try and have my ankle a little bit off the floor so my foot would hang towards it naturally with gravity. And then I'm going to sickle away from the floor and release it. Sickle away from the floor and release it. Supinate and release. Supinate and release. Supinate, release. Supinate, release. Supinate. Okay, let's do one more position lower down. So I'm going closer to the ankle joint. I'm going to roll up and down a little bit. This side is not as tight as my other side was. It's just something to make note of. If you notice one side, which areas are tighter than the other, just to know ahead of time so you can pay a little bit more attention. Or compare. One day it might be one way, and another day it might be another way. All right, so I'm going to keep it a little bit near the ankle. I'm going to do the sickle supinate. So sickle or supinate is the anatomical term. Sickle supinate, sickle supinate, sickle supinate, and release. Sickle supinate, and release. Sickle supinate, release. Supinate, release. All right, we're going to do a little bit of the anterior shin muscles next if you have a block. If not, skip this part and you can go to the next foot roller part. If you're doing anterior shin, again, I'll just show a little bit. So we have this bony front. For some of us, this is really bony and maybe less so for others. So we're below the kneecap, below the tibial tuberosity is what this is called on the tibia. And we're going to go a little bit below that into the outside of it, but not all the way to the side where we just were. So it's a little bit, just a little bit to the outside of your shin bone, that hard shin bone you can feel pretty clearly. I'm going to keep that there. I'm going to put this on the block, and I think I'll angle this again, hopefully for better viewing this way. All right. Hopefully the ball stays there. I'm going to go forward and back. Ooh. And again, you moderate the amount of pressure. I can think of pressing my shin towards the block to increase the pressure, or I can think of just it lightly resting on there to decrease. And I don't need a lot of pressure right now today. I'm also going to try waggling my leg back and forth. That's doing a little bit more cross fiber action. Main muscle we're getting here is your anterior tibialis. All right, go down. Let's go to one more position on the anterior shin. Remember, just to the outside of the shin bone, but still pretty much on the front of the lower leg. I'm going to go up and down, range of like a couple inches, not much, maybe 2 inches or so. Keep breathing. This can feel really intense, maybe more intense than some of the others did. And then waggle your foot back and forth maybe. Oh, towards the edge. We're going to reposition it because I'm starting to lose it off the block. I'm waggling. And then we did one more thing here, and that was flexing and pointing the foot. So I'm going to flex the ankle and then point it. This is where you really need the block so that the foot can flex completely, and then pointing. Dorsiflexion, plantar flexion. Oh, I just remembered to stabilize my shoulder girdle and use my anterior serratus. All right. Coming off that, let's come to standing and do our left foot rolling. All right, so stepping onto it with your left foot, the leg that you just rolled hopefully, and rolling up and down along the length of the arch of your foot. Go towards the medial arch, the inner edge. Go back through center. I'm going to turn this way. Go towards the outer edge of your foot, the lateral edge of your foot. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to ground the heel. The ball is just back of the center of the ball of the foot. Curl the toes down, and then you're going to rock towards the pinky toe edge, and then towards the big toe edge. Rocking outward, so this is kind of like sickling, supinating, and then we're going towards the inner edge, that's eversion, or pronating. All right, and next we're going to go to the Olivia Newton-John grease move. So the ball of the foot is on the floor. The ball is just in front of the center of your heel. You press as if you're going to step on it, keep the ball of the foot on the floor, and then act like you're stubbing out a cigarette from one of those movies. All right, roll up and down a little bit more. Okay, next we're going to go to the extension of the toes, so stretching between the toe and the ball of the foot. So I'm going to back up, I'm going to put my pinky toe and fourth toe, and again, if your ball is slippery and sliding out, you might need to stabilize it. Try and get the whole ball of your foot on the floor. You can see the ball of my pinky toe is on the floor. And then my big toe, middle toe is grounded on the floor. My third toe is trying to go towards the floor, but it's not making entirely full contact. All right, so staying here. Again, you can moderate the intensity. You can back off to decrease the intensity. The more you shift forward, the more you increase it. So figure out where your happy Goldilocks point is today. All right, we're going to switch. We're going to have the middle three toes up on the ball, hopefully. So I'm thinking about if you need to place it there, but my ball's pretty sticky, so it's fine. Whole ball of the foot on the floor. Again, my pinky toe's going to the floor, my big toe's going to the floor, and the other three toes are extended up onto the ball. And I'm going to, for this side, I'm going to shift a little bit more forward. I feel a difference. My right whole lower leg and foot is a little bit tighter than my left today. All right, we have one more position. So we're going to have the big toe and the second toe up on the ball. The whole ball of the foot, that includes the ball of the big toe, is on the floor. My pinky toe and fourth toe are on the ground. Try to get your third toe towards the floor also maybe. And then decide where you want to be. If you want to shift back to decrease the intensity, you can. You can shift more forward. You can go really far forward. I'm not quite there today. Staying here for a little bit. Dancers spend so much time trying to point our feet. That this extension and stretch for the toes, we don't realize how useful it can be. All right, so just roll your foot out a little bit more. in the middle arch. And then let's do one last somatic check-in. So move your ball out of the way. Come to an easy parallel. Heels right underneath your sits bones. Either close your eyes or just drop your gaze and take your focus inward. And now take a moment to compare your left foot to your right foot. Maybe you can notice how your calves feel. And then if your eyes are closed, gently flutter them open. If your eyes are focused downward, just bring them up to horizon level. That's all the calf and foot rolling I have for you today. Again, I caution you to not go too intense too quickly. Just see how your body reacts. And figure out if it's better for you before class or after class or in the evening. All right, thank you.